Alien twins were assigned to restart humanity. I didn't realize they were serious until nightfall. Jace Renner woke to pain. Not sharp pain, not the kind caused by injury, but something stranger, like a radio was inside his skull, blasting static at full volume. His thoughts felt scrambled, cracked like glass that hadn't fully broken yet. He opened his eyes. At first, the world was only a blur of violet light. Soft, pulsing, alive. The ceiling above him had no corners, no edges. It curved like the inside of a shell. The air tasted too clean, like someone had tried to redesign freshness without ever breathing real air. Jace tried to lift his hand. It felt like it weighed 100 pounds. That's when a voice echoed from everywhere at once. Pilot Renner, consciousness restored. Biological stability at 82%. Jace froze. He knew that voice. Loki, he whispered. Even speaking hurt. Correct. The AI's tone was calm, almost soft. Too soft. Your recovery is ahead of projected estimates. Jace forced himself upright. His vision swam. The room tilted. For a moment, he thought he would pass out again. Where am I? The AI hesitated. Loki never hesitated. Location is difficult to define. This environment belongs to a species known as the Archivist Collective. They recovered us following an event involving extreme temporal displacement. Temporal what? Jace muttered. Time, Pilot Renner. Time has shifted. Jace swung his legs over the side of the strange bed. The floor beneath him was warm and smooth, almost like skin. How far? Based on available evidence, Loki said, we are positioned several million years beyond the last recorded presence of humanity. Jace stopped breathing. That's impossible. It is unlikely, the AI agreed, but true. His chest tightened. A hollow feeling spread through him. Humanity, what happened to humanity? There was another pause. Longer. He could almost imagine Loki searching for gentler words. There are no known human colonies. No broadcasts. No remains. No digital traces. The archivists informed me that humans no longer exist in the historical record. Jace felt the world tilt again, but this time it wasn't from dizziness. Everyone he ever knew, gone. Earth gone. Humanity, erased like it had never lived at all. Before the grief could crash into him, the walls shimmered. 3 beings drifted into the room. They floated like weightless giants, each shaped from threads of glowing crystal. Their bodies shifted like liquid light wrapped in transparent armor. No faces, no mouths, just patterns of color that pulsed and moved like language. One of them glided closer. Surviving one, the being said, though no sound came from it. The words formed inside Jace's mind. We greet you with great care. You are the last echo of a quiet species. Jace stared, unsure whether to panic or laugh. I'm the last what? Another being drifted forward, lights rippling in calm waves. Humanity left no mark of continuation. But you remain. And so we offer a path. Jace didn't move. Couldn't move. What path? The restoration of your kind, the first archivist said. A way for your species to return from silence. Jace felt Loki's presence behind him like a warning. Pilot Renner, the AI said quietly. The archivists have a proposal regarding biological continuation. And suddenly, the violet room felt much too small. Jace swallowed hard. Tell me, he said, though every part of him whispered not to. The archivists glowed brighter. We have arranged partners for the rebuilding of your lineage. They arrive with the next cycle. The word struck him like cold metal. Partners? Rebuilding? Jace wiped a shaking hand across his face. This wasn't a nightmare. This was real. And whatever came next would change everything. Jace didn't speak for several seconds. His mind couldn't keep up. Everything felt distant, like he was watching his own life through a thick layer of glass. The archivists hovered in silence, their crystal bodies swirling with slow waves of color that he guessed meant patience or expectation. It was impossible to tell. Finally, Jace found his voice. Partners? What does that even mean? Loki answered before the archivists did. It refers to a biological compatibility program, Pilot Renner. The archivists believe humanity can be restored through natural reproduction. Jace blinked. Reproduction? With who? A whiteboard sketch of Adam and Eve. The archivists pulsed with soft gold light. We have secured volunteers from the Volari Concord. Their biology is adaptable. They can carry hybrid offspring. 2 have already undergone preparation. Jace stared. He wanted to laugh, or yell, or throw something. Maybe all three. Loki, tell me this is some kind of data glitch. It is not, the AI said quietly. The Archivists consider this an act of preservation. They see humans as a vanished species. You are the only remaining representative. Jace ran a hand through his hair. He wanted to scream, but the air in this place was too heavy for that. You said millions of years. That can't be right. There must be other humans somewhere. There are none, the archivist closest to him replied. We have searched every archive across 17 galaxies. You stand alone. The words hit harder than the temporal shock. Alone. Truly, finally alone. His chest tightened until breathing felt like a decision instead of a reflex. An archivist floated closer, its internal light shifting into soft sapphire patterns. We understand grief. We have witnessed thousands of endings. That is why we offer a beginning. Jace whispered, a beginning for who? For me? For people who haven't existed in eons? You can't force the universe to rewind. A beginning for the idea of humanity, the archivist corrected. For the spark that was lost. Jace stood abruptly. The room swayed, but he kept his balance. No, not like this. I'm not some genetic backup drive you can just reboot. Loki spoke calmly, trying to anchor him. The archivists are attempting to help within their worldview. Their purpose is preservation above all else. Yeah? Well, my purpose isn't becoming a one-man repopulation farm. The beings drifted back slightly, glowing in muted tones. Confusion, maybe. Or caution. You misunderstand, the nearest archivist said. The Valari volunteers were chosen with consent and honor. They see participation in your species' rebirth as a sacred role. Jace squeezed his eyes shut. A heavy ache settled in his chest. My species is gone, he said. How am I supposed to process that? How do you expect me to just move on to breeding programs? Loki's tone softened. You are grieving, Pilot Renner. This is natural. Emotional stability requires time. Then give me time, Jace snapped. Give me space. I just woke up in a future where everything and everyone I knew is dust. Let me breathe. The archivists exchanged shimmering colors, like silent conversation. Finally, one spoke. We will allow an adjustment period. But the Valari arrive soon. It is their wish to meet you. Jace lowered himself back onto the strange bed. He felt exhausted all over again. When, next cycle, the archivist said, they wish to begin familiarization as soon as possible. They believe it will ease your transition. Jace let out a tired, humorless laugh. Yeah, sure. Nothing eases existential horror like meeting two strangers chosen to help rebuild your extinct species. The archivists seemed to interpret this as acceptance. Their bodies brightened in gentle patterns. We are grateful for your cooperation, they said in unison. It wasn't cooperation, Jace muttered, but the beings were already drifting away, leaving the room dim and silent. Only Loki remained, humming gently in the air, trying to calm his unstable biology. After a long moment, Jace asked, Loki, what if I can't do this? The AI paused. Then, Pilot Renner, we will redefine what survival means. Jace stared at the glowing wall, feeling the crushing weight of a future he never asked for. Tomorrow, the Valari would arrive. And Jace Renner, last human alive, had no idea what he would say to them. The next cycle came too fast. Jace barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw earth, dust, ash, nothing. His thoughts twisted into knots until exhaustion finally dragged him under. But rest brought no peace. Loki's voice woke him gently. Pilot Renner, they are here. Jace sat up with a jolt. Already. The archivists consider punctuality a form of respect. Jace muttered something unprintable under his breath and dragged himself out of the strange bed. His legs still felt unsteady, like his body hadn't quite accepted being alive. Before he could fully prepare himself, the door shimmered open. Two figures stepped inside. The first was bright, almost radiant. Her skin had a faint glow to it, like warm stone catching morning light. Soft gold lines traced across her cheeks and arms, shifting slowly like they were alive. She gave him a wide, excited smile. I am Lyra, she said. Valari cross-adaptation volunteer. We greet you with warmth. The second figure remained silent at her side. She looked similar, same tall frame, same glowing skin, but her patterns were silver, sharp, precise. like frost spreading over glass. Her expression was calm, unreadable. "I am Sarah," she said quietly. "My apologies for intruding on your waking cycle." Jace stared at them. Humanoid. Familiar enough. But still alien. Too perfect. Too symmetrical. Too controlled. He cleared his throat. "Right. So you're the volunteers." Lyra nodded eagerly. "Yes. We studied human biology for 8 cycles. Your species is fascinating. So unoptimized, yet highly adaptable. And your emotional systems." "Lyra," Sarah interrupted softly. "Perhaps do not begin with emotional systems." "Oh, right." Lyra clasped her hands together, looking embarrassed. Her glowing lines flickered. Sarah stepped forward. "We understand this situation may feel sudden. We would prefer to begin slowly." "Slowly," Jace repeated. "That would be nice." Lyra's golden glow brightened with delight. "We can do slow, extremely slow, or mildly slow. Your choice." "You're very enthusiastic," Jace said. "That is correct," Sarah murmured dryly. Jace rubbed his face. He didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. "So, what exactly are you expecting from me today?" Lyra opened her mouth, but Sarah gently placed a hand on her arm. "We are not here for any reproduction procedure. Not today. We requested time to meet you first, to understand you." Jace exhaled in relief, his tension dropping a fraction. "Good. Because I'm definitely not ready for whatever the Archivists had in mind." Lyra tilted her head. "You are grieving." Her voice wasn't sad, just observing. But the word hit him directly in the chest. Jace swallowed hard. "Yeah, I guess I am." Sarah's silver patterns shifted subtly. "We were told humans valued empathy. We wish to respect that." He blinked, surprised. "You're different from what I expected." Lyra perked up. "Different good or different bad?" "Just different," he said. Lyra clapped her hands once, delighted. "Acceptable." Sarah gave an almost invisible sigh. Jace gestured weakly toward the room. "Look, I appreciate you being here, but I'm barely keeping it together. Humanity is gone," Sarah finished gently. "We know." He winced. Lyra's cheerful glow dimmed. "We read your archives. The old ones the Archivists decoded. Earth was beautiful." Jace sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. "It was. And now it's gone. Just like everything else." Sarah moved a little closer, her tone calm. "We did not come to replace what you lost. We came to understand it," Lyra added softly. The room felt less heavy. Not fixed, not healed, just slightly less crushing. Jace nodded slowly. "So, what do you two want from me right now?" "Conversation," Sarah said. "Stories," Lyra added. "Nothing more," Sarah finished. Jace let out a shaky breath. He could handle that. "Maybe." "All right," he said. "We can talk. But no archivist plans. No pressure. Just talk." Lyra beamed, glowing brighter. Sarah's silver lines warmed, becoming softer. "Then we begin simple," Sarah said. "Tell us about your home." Jace hesitated. But for the first time since waking in this distant future, he didn't feel completely alone. He cleared his throat. "Well, Earth had blue oceans, and storms that could shake whole cities, and forests that smelled like rain and sunlight." The twins listened quietly, and Jace realized maybe this wasn't the end, just the beginning of something he never expected. The following cycles settled into a strange rhythm, one Jace never expected, one he definitely didn't ask for, yet one he slowly stopped fighting. It began with simple things. Questions. Lots of questions. Lyra asked about every tiny detail of human life, from weather to music to why humans like dogs so much. Sarah asked fewer questions, but hers were sharper, more thoughtful. Questions Jace didn't always have answers to. One morning, Lyra arrived carrying a tray of something. It looked like a sandwich that had lost a bar fight with a rainbow. "Human food attempt number 1, she announced proudly. Sarah stood behind her, arms folded. "I advise caution," she said. "What is that?" Jace asked, horrified and fascinated. "A burger," Lyra said. "Your archives described it as comforting." "It's blue," Jace pointed out. "It is nutritious," Lyra insisted. "It is moving," Sarah added calmly. Jace watched the blue patty twitch like a sleepy animal. "I'm not eating that." Lyra's glow dimmed. "But we made it for you." Guilt stabbed him. "All right, fine. But if it kills me, I'm haunting both of you." He picked it up, took a bite, immediately regretted it. The flavor was somewhere between mint gum and burnt tires. Lyra brightened like a sunrise. "How is it?" Jace swallowed with effort. It's enthusiastic. Sarah's silver lines rippled with amusement. That means it is terrible. Hey, Jace defended. It's not terrible. It's aggressively experimental. Lyra clapped, delighted. Then I will experiment more. Sarah sighed. Stars help him. But despite the disaster, Jace laughed for the first time since waking in this future. Really laughed, not the broken sound from before. Afternoons became the time they explored the Archivist station. It was massive, like a living museum built from light and silence. Jace often felt small there, but with the twins beside him, the place felt less like a tomb and more like a puzzle he might eventually understand. One cycle, they visited the Culture Dome, where archivists stored fragments of extinct species, old artifacts, pieces of forgotten worlds. Jace found a cracked, dusty guitar string. The moment he touched it, memories hit him like a wave. The sound of his father tuning his guitar on late nights, the warmth of home, the music that had shaped his childhood. His throat tightened. You knew this object, Sarah observed, watching him carefully. It's nothing, Jace whispered, but his voice betrayed him. Lyra touched the string gently. Tell us what it means. So he did. He told them about music, how humans created sound to express joy and pain, how a simple tune could make a person feel alive, how he once played badly at a school talent show and no one clapped but his sister. Lyra listened with wide, glowing eyes. That is beautiful. Sarah nodded. It explains why humans grieved so deeply. Your lives were full of meaning. The words hit Jace harder than she intended. He wasn't sure whether to thank her or cry. Evenings became their favorite time. They would sit inside the Sunflower, Jace's old ship, still battered and worn but familiar. Lyra loved exploring every corner. Sarah preferred quiet observation. One night, Jace found his old guitar in a storage compartment. The neck was cracked, only 3 strings left, but it still felt like home in his hands. You play music? Lyra asked, glowing with excitement. Used to, he said. Not sure it'll sound good now. Try, Sarah said softly. So he played. Slow, shaky notes. A melody missing half its pieces. But it echoed through the small cabin, filling the air with something warm and painfully human. Jace felt tears slip down his face before he realized he was crying. Lyra moved closer, her glow dimming in empathy. Sarah didn't speak. She simply sat beside him, still and steady, like an anchor. When the last note faded, Lyra whispered, Is all human music filled with sadness? No, Jace said. Just the important parts. Sarah's gaze softened. Then you must teach us. Not the archivist version. The real version. The human version. Teach you music? And everything else, Lyra added quickly. Food. Stories. Emotions. All the things the archives cannot explain. Jace hesitated. They weren't asking him to reproduce. They weren't treating him like a relic. They were asking him to share what humanity was. Something loosened inside his chest. All right, he said. Yeah, I'll teach you. Lyra nearly burst with excitement. Sarah didn't smile, but her silver lines warmed into soft spirals. And in that dim ship, surrounded by broken memories and new beginnings, Jace felt something unfamiliar. Not hope exactly, but the first flicker of something that could become hope. He wasn't sure where this future was heading, but for the first time, he didn't dread tomorrow. Jace never expected that teaching humanity would turn into a routine, or that he would start to enjoy it. But days slipped into a rhythm that felt almost normal. Strange, yes. Alien, yes. But normal in its own strange way. Mornings began with Lyra knocking on his door far too early. Human breakfast attempt number 7, she would announce proudly. This time, it looked like scrambled eggs if scrambled eggs were green and slightly sparkly. Jace poked the plate. It's glowing. That means it's fresh, Lyra said confidently. That means it's radioactive, Sarah corrected, taking the plate away before he could touch it again. You are not feeding him unstable compounds. Lyra huffed. You're the one who said humans enjoy variety. Variety, Sarah said, not death. Despite the constant food disasters, Jace found himself smiling more and more. Because even when the meals were terrible, the effort behind them was real. Afternoons became learning sessions, which was Lyra's polite way of saying she dragged Jace to every corner of the Archivist station to explain something about humans. Jace showed them how people argued over weather even though they couldn't control it, why humans took pictures of food, how sports were basically ritualized chaos. The difference between dancing and flailing. Lyra absorbed every detail like a sponge. Sarah absorbed them too, but with the calm focus of someone studying for a very serious exam. One afternoon, Lyra asked a question that froze Jace in place. Were humans happy? He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. Sometimes, he said softly. Not always. But when we were, we really were. Lyra smiled gently. Then we will help you be happy again. Sarah didn't smile, but her voice was warm when she said, happiness is not a goal. It is a process. We will learn it together. Their sincerity hit harder than he expected. Evenings were calm, quiet, simple. The three of them would sit on the sunflower, the dim old lights flickering softly. Jace repaired small parts of the ship while Lyra sorted through the damaged data logs, and Sarah sat nearby reading Archivist legal codes. Jace wasn't sure why she liked legal codes. He suspected she wasn't sure either. One evening, after he spent an hour explaining the concept of sarcasm, Sarah looked up from her tablet. Jace, she said, explain something. Sure. What is it? She hesitated, rare for her. Why are humans so good at pretending they are fine when they are not? The question struck him somewhere deep. He stared at the floor. Because sometimes it's easier than admitting we're hurting. Lyra's glow dimmed in sympathy. Sarah's silver lines shifted, thoughtful. And you are hurting, she said gently. Jace shrugged. I'm the last human. Doesn't that say it all? Sarah set her tablet aside. You are not just the last human. You are you. Jace Renner. Pilot. Son. Musician. Person. Lyra nodded firmly. Not a relic. Not a sample. A person. Jace's chest tightened. He hadn't realized how badly he needed to hear that. The turning point came during their first movie night, a phrase Lyra learned and used with extreme enthusiasm. They crowded onto a too-soft cushion in Jace's quarters, watching an old comedy pulled from a damaged archive. The visuals were grainy, the subtitles glitchy, the jokes simple. Lyra laughed so hard she glowed like a lantern. Sarah didn't laugh, but the corners of her mouth tilted just barely upward. Near the end, a scene played where a human character shared a quiet, heartfelt confession. Lyra leaned her head onto Jace's shoulder. Sarah rested her arm lightly against his. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't planned. It was just comfort. Something warm settled into Jace's chest. Not love. Not yet. But connection. And connection, he realized, was something humans had always needed more than anything. When the movie ended, Lyra looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. Jace, did humans often sit together like this? Yeah, he said softly. They did. Then we will too, she said proudly. Sarah nodded. It appears pleasant. Jace smiled. Yeah, he whispered. It really is. As the cycle lights dimmed across the station, Jace realized something quietly terrifying. These two aliens, these volunteers who were supposed to be part of a reproduction plan, had become something else. Something real. Something steady. Something like the first piece of a family he thought he'd lost forever. He didn't know what came next. But for the first time since waking in a future where humanity was dead, he didn't dread tomorrow. He almost looked forward to it. The Archivists summoned Jace and the twins on the 20th cycle. No warning. No explanation. Just a soft chime through the station's halls. Human pilot Renner. Valari Lyra. Valari Sarah. Council requires presence. Jace felt dread settle in his stomach. Lyra clutched his sleeve, glowing anxiously. Sarah stood tall and still, but her silver patterns flickered sharply, a sign she was uneasy too. The council chamber loomed like a giant hollow sphere carved from crystal and light. 13 archivists floated inside, arranged in a perfect circle. Their bodies pulsed with synchronized patterns that made Jace's skin crawl. The moment he stepped in, the central archivist spoke. Evaluation complete. Familiarization phase concludes today. Jace frowned. Phase? What phase? Emotional adjustment phase, the archivist replied. You have achieved acceptable bonding levels with the Valari partners. We will now proceed to the continuation plan. Lyra's glow dimmed instantly. Sarah's silver lines hardened like armor. Jace's pulse spiked. What continuation plan? The archivist's synchronized lights intensified. Reproductive initiation. The timeline cannot be delayed further. Jace blinked, stunned. You're serious? Seriousness, affirmative. Jace stepped forward, fists clenched. No, absolutely not. It's not happening like this. A ripple of confusion passed across the archivist lights. You require clarification? Yes, Jace snapped. I require freedom. I'm not a lab animal. Lyra moved beside him. We told you. He needs time, she said softly, but her voice shook. Sarah stepped forward, her tone colder. Your plan violates his autonomy. And ours. The archivists pulsed sharply, clearly unprepared for resistance. Valari brood designation units do not possess autonomy in reproductive assignments, they said. Jace's blood boiled. Brood designation what? Sarah's expression turned icy. That is our ancient classification. One created by species who saw the Valari as tools, not people. This designation remains accurate. The archivist replied calmly. Jace snapped. Oh hell no. No, you don't get to decide that. The archivist lights brightened as if correcting a child. Pilot Renner, continuation of your species is a priority. Emotional reluctance is expected. We will assist with sedation if. Say sedation again, Jace growled, and I swear I'll reprogram the entire chamber with a wrench. The archivists paused, likely because they were unsure what a wrench was. Sarah's voice sliced through the tension. My people have served others for millennia, but we are not property, and he is not your experiment. Your emotional connection to the human complicates your logic, an archivist pulsed. It strengthens it, Sarah shot back. Lyra, usually the gentlest of them, stepped forward with trembling determination. You cannot force life into existence. Not like this. Not with fear. Not with commands. Jace looked at them. These two aliens who weren't meant to be friends or partners or anything except participants in a genetic project. But here they were, standing with him, standing for him. He turned back to the archivists. If humanity continues, he said, voice firm, it continues because we choose it, not because you schedule it like a maintenance check. The archivists pulsed in rapid agitation, like a storm of light. You would risk extinction? They asked. If the alternative is being controlled? Jace replied, yeah, I would. Sarah placed a steady hand on his arm. He speaks for me as well. And me, Lyra added, glowing bright again. For a long moment, the chamber was silent except for the faint hum of the archivist's internal lights shifting in patterns Jace didn't understand. Finally, the central archivist pulsed once, slowly. Human pilot Renner. Valari Lyra. Valari Sarah. Your defiance reveals a logical flaw. What flaw? Sarah demanded. To preserve a species by removing its freedom, the archivist said, is to fail in preservation. The lights dimmed. We will adjust. Reproductive requirements are suspended indefinitely. Your union is reclassified as a voluntary cultural integration group. Jace blinked. In plain language, you are free, the archivist said. You may choose your timing, or choose not to reproduce at all. Lyra gasped, glowing like sunrise. Sarah exhaled slowly, silver patterns softening. And our autonomy? Sarah pressed. Guaranteed, the archivist said. For all Valari. Sarah's eyes widened. She hadn't just changed her own fate. She'd started something much bigger. Lyra grabbed Jace's hand, practically shaking with joy. Jace, we did it. He smiled, really smiled, for the first time in this future. No, he said. You two did it. The archivist drifted back into silence. Jace turned toward the exit with the twins beside him. They weren't his partners. Not his volunteers. They were something else entirely. Something he never expected. A team. A bond. A beginning built on choice, not command. And as they left the chamber, Jace realized something powerful. For the first time since waking in this distant future, the future felt like his. The next 10 years didn't arrive all at once. They seeped in quietly, cycle by cycle, moment by moment, until Jace realized he had built a life without meaning to, piece by piece, like someone assembling a puzzle without seeing the picture on the box. The new home the archivist provided wasn't huge, but it was warm and filled with the smells of Lyra's endless cooking experiments and the faint metallic scent of Sarah's legal tablets. The walls glowed softly when touched, reflecting the patterns of whoever entered. Jace's presence turned them a gentle sky blue. The archivist said it was a color associated with renewal. Maybe that was fitting. The first child came 3 years after the council confrontation. Not because anyone demanded it, but because one quiet evening, after months of shared laughter, whispered worries, and patient understanding, the three of them decided together that they wanted to try. Valari biology reacted quickly. Too quickly. Sarah delivered twins, tiny hybrid children with silver-flecked eyes and faint glowing patterns. When Jace held them, his hands trembled. Not from fear. From astonishment. Gratitude. "Oh," he whispered. "You're real." Lyra cried glowing tears. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Humanity lives. Because you chose it." More children followed over the years. 5 in total, 2 sets of twins, and 1 single birth. Every one of them different and impossible and perfect. They inherited Jace's stubbornness, Lyra's wild energy, and Sarah's razor-sharp curiosity. One of the twins even had a natural talent for breaking things that reminded Jace painfully of himself at age 10. Evenings became chaos, shouting, laughing, chasing, stories, teaching them human words and Valari glow patterns. Jace often thought, if my parents could see this, they'd never believe it. Lyra flourished, too. She and Jace worked together to document every piece of human culture he could remember: music, jokes, traditions, games, history. She absorbed it all and eventually became the station's leading scholar in human anthropology. Her research became the first recognized field of human studies, and her papers were quoted across multiple systems. Sarah, meanwhile, took her fight beyond their home. She worked tirelessly for the freedom of all Valari. Court after court, case after case, and she won, over and over. Eventually, the Concordance Council passed the Valari Autonomy Charter, guaranteeing rights for all broodline individuals. Sarah became a symbol of that movement, respected, admired, feared by a few, but never ignored. Jace teased her constantly. "My girlfriend started a revolution. Can your girlfriend do that?" "You have 2 girlfriends," Lyra always replied. "And yes, both can." One night, after the children had finally fallen asleep, though they were almost certainly not actually asleep, Jace stood with Lyra and Sarah on the balcony. The stars stretched across the sky like silver dust scattered on black velvet. Sarah nudged him. "You're thinking too loudly." Jace laughed softly. "How do you always know?" "You wrinkle your forehead in that exact way," she said. Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. "Tell us what you're thinking." He hesitated. Then he told them the truth. "I miss Earth," he said quietly. "Not every second. Not like I used to. But sometimes. I miss my family, my sky, the smell of rain. And I wonder if I'm betraying them by being happy here." Lyra turned toward him, glowing faint gold. "You're not betraying them. You're honoring them. You kept their stories alive." Sarah added gently, "And you created new ones." Jace looked at the stars, thousands of unfamiliar constellations. None were Earth's. None ever would be. And yet, he didn't feel lost anymore. He felt home. Inside, the children burst into laughter. Something crashed. Jace winced. "That was the vase from the Archivists, wasn't it?" "Yes," Sarah sighed. "The one they said was irreplaceable." Lyra grinned. "They should have made it glow less. The kids only break the pretty ones." They went inside, stepping over toys, papers, glowing paints, half-built projects, and 3 small children hiding under a blanket. The youngest peeked out. "Daddy, tell us the story again." Jace knelt. "Which one?" The kids answered in perfect chorus. "Pizza." Jace chuckled and pulled them close. "All right, once more." Pizza was the perfect food. He told them the story, every detail, every argument, every absurd topping debate. And the children listened with wide eyes, glowing faintly with inherited Valari patterns. Lyra sat behind them, smiling softly. Sarah leaned against the wall, arms crossed, pretending not to smile, but the silver glow on her cheeks gave her away. When the story ended, the oldest child climbed into his lap. "Daddy, are humans gone?" Jace paused, then shook his head. "No," he said. "Humans changed. Humans became something new. Humans learned to live again." The child frowned. "But where are they?" Jace ruffled his hair. "You're looking at them." The children giggled, excited. "We're humans." "And Valari," Jace said. 2 stories becoming one. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder. Lyra slipped her fingers into his. And for a moment, the room felt full of every future Jace had ever hoped for, and every future he never imagined. Humanity wasn't a planet anymore. Wasn't a species, either. Humanity was choice. Love. Memory. Future. Humanity was here, in this room, wrapped in 5 tiny glowing shapes who were learning to laugh, fight, dream, and live. And Jace Renner, the man who once woke up alone at the end of time, whispered the truth to himself. We survived,